guys, today we're going to be trying out some new things from a couple of different brands here. The first thing that I want to focus on is the new palette from Its Bel Cosmetics. Now, I've been a big fan of Its Bel for a very long time, ever since they came out with their first palette, which ended up being my favorite palette of 2020, or was it 2019? It's been quite some time now, but I've been a big fan of their palettes for a very long time, and they've come out with a new all matte palette. And I thought this was a very interesting time to come out with this because this is very much like a spring palette, and I feel like we're still sort of in winter. So this is basically an all matte neon palette, and when I swatched this, I wasn't sure what to expect at first because neons can be really tricky, but I swatched it and oh my god, it swatches so well. I'm so excited to play with this because I feel like this is going to be a really nice and fun palette, and something that I feel like I don't really have in my collection right now. It's like, yeah, I do have my Blend Bunny palettes that have neons in them, but I don't really have just this, and I feel like this would be really good for like traveling and stuff like that and bring as a companion palette. So I'm excited to test this out. This should be available already, and it's called the Fruity Round palette. I probably forgot to say that, but super pretty. I also got a package from Shellwe Makeup, which is the brand that I tried the Liana palette from, and I made a video with that last year, and I ended up really liking that palette. They reached out to me and asked if they could send me some new things, and I was like, of course, I would absolutely love that. So I have a couple of things here we're gonna try out, and I do want to mention this one first. This is a concealer that they sent me. I've kind of played around with this a couple of times now, and I don't really love it. And concealers is one of those things, I don't want to do a first impression with it because I feel like for me, that's kind of pointless. Like, I'd rather give you an actual review of a concealer. So yeah, I think my issue with this concealer is, first of all, I don't like the applicator at all because it has one of those kind of squeezy tubey thingies. And I find that this portion here, like the product that is on the applicator, dries up a little bit, and then you kind of try to press like the new product through the dried up product, and it's just kind of gross. So I don't love that, and I think that the concealer itself is a little too thick for my preferred liking. It does have a lot of coverage, but I feel like it's so thick that it almost doesn't dry down properly, and it kind of feels like tacky under my eyes for a little while. I'm not wearing it today because I did not want to wear it. I'm sorry. I don't really like this product, but I'm excited for the other things that they sent me. So they sent me 4 of these. These are those kind of like Danessa Myricks pigment D thingies that come in a little pot. So they're little like gels. I swatched these and I'm not sure how I'm gonna feel about them on the eyes. I felt like they looked really pretty, but it was hard to get an even application with a brush, which is how I swatched them, and I felt like they maybe could end up looking a little bit patchy on the eyes. Of course, I haven't tried them yet, but that was just like my impression when using a brush with them and swatching them in the way that I would use them to apply them on my eyes. So I feel like it's the kind of product that I would like to have like a solid base down underneath, just so that it doesn't look sheer. So I'm gonna see if I can maybe use one of these in one of the looks that I'm gonna do with the palette. So we're gonna kind of just combine a couple of things here because I don't have time to make separate videos on all of these, and even though I wish I could do more than 2 looks with these, I just simply don't have time because I have a lot of other things that I need to get around to doing stuff with as well. They also sent me some multichromes here, so I thought that since these are multichromes, it's going to be easier for me to do some live swatches with them so we can kind of see the shifts together. So we're going to start off with that. They also sent me another thing here, which I think they forgot to actually put something in it, because this is a box and it says multichrome liquid eyeshadows, and it just has it's an empty box. So I feel like they probably just forgot to put product in here. So I'm guessing that they have liquid multichrome eyeshadows as well, if that is something that you're interested in. The box is really cute. I'll probably keep that, just take out the insert in here and like use this to store different things in it, because that's really cute. So I'm not mad that they sent me a box, but I do wish I had the content that was supposed to be inside of the box as well. So we're gonna go ahead and start by swatching these multichromes. I'm super curious. The only thing is I'm not sure these multichromes are gonna actually go with the palette, but we're gonna try to make it work. So we're gonna start with this one. This one is the shade called Moon Village. So they come in a little compact like this. These are magnetic, so if you have empty palettes, you can take them out of the compact and put them into your palettes if that is something you're interested in. So we're gonna just go ahead and do one at a time here, and we're gonna use a mirror and see if I can see the shift. They feel really nice and smooth, and they don't feel sheer at all. So let's see which shift this is. I'm not gonna be able to like properly explain that to you, but that definitely has a bit of a green shift to it, which is really pretty. I hope you can see that in the mirror. I wouldn't say these are the most intense multichromes that I have ever swatched, but I do think that on the eyes it would probably look really pretty. Next up looks to be kind of a similar color, and this one is called Don't Rush. Feels exactly the same. I really like the texture and the feel of these. Okay, that is beautiful. Now my hand is a little bit wet because I did just wipe it off with a makeup wipe, just FYI, but I don't have any kind of primer or anything like that. Oh, that's really pretty. Yeah, you can definitely see the shift in that. It also shifts kind of green. It is so hard to show off multichromes on camera, but I hope you can somewhat see that. I feel like this is the kind of shade that I've definitely seen before. It's like a pink to green with a little bit of something in between. Very, very pretty though, and I do think that they're gonna look really nice on the eyes, like I said. Next up here is the shade called Lacuna, which kind of looks similar to me. Not sure if the shift is going to be different. I'm trying to like swatch the similar ones kind of back to back so we can see what they actually look like. So this one doesn't have as strong of a shift, and it looks to be definitely more black based than the other one. What if I do it on this side? It is so hard to like, okay, this one is not as shifty, I feel like. This is not my favorite, so I probably will not be using this one in any of the looks. I can see the shift here, but I feel like the other one is similar in color and shift, but the shift is stronger. So I'm gonna put this one to the side. Let's move into the colors that I'm the most excited about. This is probably going to be my favorite, and it's the shade called Serendipity, and it's basically a bright green with a blue shift to it. That is so pretty. Oh my goodness, I'm gonna love this. This is definitely one that I really want to test out. Yeah, you can see a very strong kind of dark green bluish shift in that. That is beautiful. The next shade is the shade called Double Take, which looks to be one of those pretty basic blue to purple multichromes that I feel like most brands came out with years ago when multichromes really started to pop up. But this is a really pretty, yeah, it's exactly what I thought it would be, but it's beautiful. I am not mad at that at all. I think that would look really cute with some of the mattes in the Its Bel palette. The only thing I wish that I had a little bit of more depth in the palette to go with these multichromes, but this, I needed to combine some stuff because I just don't have time to do, like I said, separate videos on everything. So this is just what we're gonna go ahead and do. So we might have to work with a bit more of a darker lid shade with some of these neons, but that's okay. The next shade here is probably one of the darker ones. It's called Mystery Woods, and I'm not really sure what to expect with that. It just looks like a dark bluish purple. So let's see if, that's kind of what I'm seeing when I'm swatching it too. I'm not seeing any real shift to it. It just looks like a really pretty metallic. Yeah, that one is very, very subtle, and the shift, it does have a little bit of a shift to it. It's like a blue to purple, but nothing that really blows me away. Like, I'm sure it's gonna look nice on the eyes, but I'm gonna put that one aside as well because that one doesn't, like I said, really call my name too much. So for the last one, this one looks to be black, and it's called Black Magic. I feel like this is gonna be similar to a shade that I tried that I think was in the one of the Lethal palettes that I had. That is so interesting. Like, it really just looks like a black metallic, and I feel like it's probably gonna have sort of a red shift to it. That's really cool, actually. I feel like doing a smoky eye with this would look very interesting. Yeah, it does have that red shift to it. That is really, really interesting. Like, look at that. It's not usual that you see a shade that actually has a darker like front base to it and then shifts lighter to a different color, because when you look at it straight, it just looks black, but then on the side here, it looks super, super red. So that is really cool. Like I said, I don't know if this is gonna go with the palette, so I'm probably not gonna use that one on the eyes, but I do wanna try some of these other ones. So I think what I'll do is I'll do a look with the palette and one of the multichromes today, and then I'll do a look with the palette and one of the liquid shadows tomorrow, and we can test out both things and see how they end up doing. So I'm just gonna prime with my Natasha Denona eyeshadow base, and I think that for the first look, I don't want to really over blend any of these neons because they are neon shades, and neons are notorious for not really wanting to layer too much. And so even though I want to test them out, I also do understand that that is just how most neons are. So I'm going to try to blend them a little bit, but I don't want to like over blend them because I do want them to stay nice and bright and vibrant on the eyes. So we're going to start with the palette, and I think I want to use probably these 3 in my crease and then do this shade on my lid because I think that's going to look really pretty. I feel like it's probably a look I've done before, but I don't really care. I'm gonna start with the yellow actually sort of in my inner corner because I do want to see how this one looks. It's swatched so nicely, and I just really hope that this palette is as good as I think it's going to be, because if it is, it definitely has a place in my collection because I don't have, like I said before, an all kind of neon palette. So I would say it's looking a little bit darker on the eyes, but that's sort of to be expected because my eyeshadow base is a little bit wet, so it is going to oxidize just a little bit when I put it on, but I think it's going to look a little bit brighter once it sort of dries a little bit. But that has a lot of pigment to it. That's really, really pretty. And of course with neons, if you really want them to look neon, use a white base. I've said before, I don't like using a white base with my eyeshadows, so I'm just not going to do that. Next up, I'm going to take the shade called Kiwi, which is such a beautiful bright green shade. I am probably the most excited about this shade in this palette because I know I'm going to love it. Yeah, that's beautiful. That is really, really pretty. I'm going to take that in the middle of my lid as well as into my crease. I do think I want to just kind of see how these layer a little bit. Not that I do all matte looks ever, but I'm sure some of you out there do and want to see how this actually layers on the lid. That looks so pretty. Like, these are actually doing such a good job here. I'm just going to blend it into my crease a little bit. These are quite powdery and do have a little bit of kick up, which is pretty normal with neon shades like this. So not something out of the ordinary at all. I just thought I would kind of mention it. Especially if you're not used to working with neons, they can be a little bit tricky to work with. And like I said before, they don't usually want to build and blend too much. So I wouldn't try to like mix too many of these together and build on top of each other, but rather use them like as more of an accent or like a standalone color. I'm definitely seeing a little bit of maybe patchiness is the right word, but I also don't really care how shadows look on the lid when it comes to mattes because I always use shimmers, so I don't really test out shadows in this way very often. But I will say for the most part, mattes just don't look good on my lids, and I don't know if it's because I have oily lids or because I have dry patches on it. I don't know, but just in general, I don't really like the way that mattes look on my lid, which is why I don't ever do matte eye looks. So I just wanted to put that out there. I'm just going to go in with blue now and put that in the outer portion of my crease. I am going to try to layer it over this green just on my lid just to see if they do layer at all. I don't know where my camera just turned off, but I was saying that these actually do layer quite nicely. Not like super layerable, but I can get them to lay on top of each other and not look patchy at all, and it doesn't like lift, so that's nice. I'm gonna go ahead and wing this out a little bit, and I've definitely done a look like this before, but I'm not even sorry because I love this color combination so much. It's one of my favorite looks to do, is using greens and blues and yellows together. I just always think it looks so good and so summery and just so fun. So yeah, I'm quite impressed with this. I think that if you didn't want to use any kind of shimmer on the lid, you can definitely get away with leaving it like this. It's not looking perfect on the lids, but I also didn't try to make it look perfect because I knew I was going to go in with a shimmer over the top. So we're going to use the multichrome. I do think maybe it's going to be a little too dark for this look, but I'm probably just going to take one of my Blend Bunny highlighters just on the front portion so we can lighten it up a little bit. But I do really want to test out this multichrome formula and see what it looks like. So I'm just going to take some of my NYX glitter primer to put down first before I do the multichrome, because that's what I always prefer to do. And I just find that shimmers in general just look better when you have something tacky underneath. So I'm just tapping some of this on my lid where I want that multichrome to be, which is pretty much all over. Just going to take the sticky side of this brush. It's just a random MAC brush. This was the shade called Double Take, and I'm just going to put that all over my lid. It picks up beautifully. It looks so pretty. And I'm just going to go ahead and, like I said, put this all over my lid except for the very, very inner portion of my lid where I'm going to use a highlighter. Now I have said before that I do prefer having darker mattes in my crease and a lighter shimmer on my lid, and this is pretty much the opposite, so it's going to turn into more of a smoky eye here, but that's okay. I do just really want to, like I said, test out these shades, and even though they maybe don't go the best with this palette, I'm just kind of working with what I have right now, but that does look really nicely. It's looking super nice and smooth on the eyes, and it's also blending into my crease really nicely. So far I really like this multichrome formula. Probably pull this in a little bit too far, but I do think, yeah, it's just a little hard to get like a darker shade to blend nicely into lighter shades is what I usually experience when I try to do something a little darker on the lid. So we'll see how it looks when it's all kind of put together, but I really like the formula on these. These are really nice. I'm gonna take my Noctilucent palette from Blend Bunny, and I'm just gonna take the yellow highlighter down here and use as my inner corner slash kind of front portion of my lid shade. I'm gonna spray that a little bit with some Fix Plus because I do want this to be nice and opaque, and I think it's gonna layer nicely over the multichrome as well. I really like using these on my eyes. They just look so beautiful, and I've done that many more times than I kind of expected I would. When I first got this palette, I didn't think I would really use them as eyeshadows because it's not really what I do most of the time. I prefer to just use eyeshadows, but these really are beautiful as eyeshadows and highlighters, and I like the sheerness of them and how you can kind of manipulate them into being whatever you want them to be. They're just so beautiful. So I'm gonna go ahead and finish up with this eye look, and I'll come back and show you kind of what I did to finish. And we're gonna see if we can see the shift in this now that I have it all over my eyes. The look is all done, and I really like how it turned out. I will say the shift in this is way stronger than I thought it would be, and I'm seeing so much purple. Like, I hope you can see that because wow, that is really pretty. And I'm super impressed by the multichrome. Like, that is beautiful. So I think that's going to be it for the first look. If you're wondering what else I did to finish off, I'm using the glass wing lashes from Auric, and I'm using are these the half ones or the full ones? I think these are the full ones that I trimmed. I trimmed them a while back and I just haven't used them yet because I thought they'd be kind of too long. And I don't like my application today, but that is totally my own fault. But I think the lashes are really pretty, and I like this look overall. In my waterline, I used the Norvina liner in yellow because I wanted to sort of tie in the yellow. So that's pretty much it. So I really like this look, and I'm excited to play more with these products. I think for the next look, I'm gonna do something a little bit more graphic maybe, and then use one of these all over the lid. I think that could be kind of fun because I really want to test out some of these kind of oranges and purples and stuff like that I didn't test out today. I also used a little bit of this shade just on the very outer corner because I felt like it needed some depth, and it actually layered pretty nicely. So I don't really have any complaints with this palette so far. I think the quality is really nice. So for the second look, I really want to use this pigment. This is a shade called Burning Inside, and this is so beautiful. It kind of has it's hard to explain the shift in it, but it's definitely like a peachy, orangey, kind of green, a little bit of green to it, a little bit of gold. So I definitely want to work with the warm tone. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a 3-tone graphic sort of liner thingy, and then I'll do the pigment over the top and see how that layers over all of them. So I'm going to start, I think, with this one. I think I want to do this one, and this one sort of as my base. So I'm going to start with this and use this as my wing. I'm going to take that on a small liner brush here, and I'm just going to do the shape that I always do when I do my big wings for hooded eyes. I can link my tutorial on how to do that up in the corner if you want to check it out. So I'm just going to kind of put down these colors. It's not going to be anything fancy here at all. I'm just going to do what I always do, and I'm really curious to see how that pigment is going to layer over the top of these shadows because, like I said before, when I swatched it, they look a little bit patchy and like it's going to be tough to get a smooth application with them. So I'm just going to kind of hope for the best and see what happens. I may or may not take it all over my wing. I'm just going to have to see how it layers in the beginning, in the front, before I make a decision. I'm just going to work on the shape here before I go ahead and fill everything in. I'm just switching to a bigger brush here just so I can get some more of this onto my eye. Like I said, I'm gonna put this all over my lid as well, just so that that pigment gets a nice surface to layer over the top of. I do feel like this color is maybe a little bit on the sheer side compared to how I felt about some of the greens and the blues. I mean, it's definitely doing a decent job, but I'm not seeing that super opaque richness that I see from something like Blend Bunny, but it's still looking nice and decently opaque. I just feel like there's a couple of spots where it's just not as kind of opaque as I would have liked, but it's still looking okay. I'm next gonna switch to another brush here, and I'm just gonna go in with, I think, the neon orange in the middle, and then I'll do, no, I'm gonna take the pink first. I'm gonna take the shade called Guava, and I'm just taking that on a small brush that I would normally use with shimmers, and I'm just gonna pack that on my lid here. That is very neon. That is most certainly neon, and that looks really nice. So I'm gonna take that in the middle of my lid, making sure I leave room for the orange in the front portion. I'm not gonna really blend this into my crease. I do want this to be a pretty graphic look, so I'm just gonna kind of get the shape to be just above where my actual crease is, so that when I look straight ahead, you can still see, barely see the outline of that wing. And I think this is looking pretty good, just the way that I want it. I think I like this shade a little bit more than I like the purple. I do feel like purple neons are the hardest ones to make, and I've yet to find one that I really like, especially that is in like a neon palette, but I think this one is looking really nice. And then for the rest of the lid, I'm gonna take the shade called Papaya. We're gonna see how bright and how neon this shade really is. Yeah, this one seems to be also a little bit on the sheer side. We're gonna see how I'm able to blend these two colors together, if they will kind of blend over the top of each other, but it looks like it's doing a pretty decent job. It's taking a little bit of time to build this up to be opaque, but it does seem to build nicely. And it also does seem to layer okay over that pink. I'm not getting like a perfect gradient, but I'm also not expecting that, because like I said before, mattes in general, not just neons, just don't really tend to look that great on my lid. So I'm very happy with how this is all looking and coming together. I think that looks really, really nice, and I'm excited to see what that pigment is going to look like over the top. I'm super curious, and I hope that I'm able to get a nice smooth application, because I feel like it might end up looking a little bit chunky just from like my experience with sort of similar products in the past. I do find them a little bit hard to work with. I think this is about as even as I'm gonna be able to get this. So I'm next gonna take this one. Like I said, this was the shade called Burning Inside, and I don't know, because I feel like my problem is it's tough to get like the right amount onto your brush without getting too much, but I think I've picked up a decent amount. I'm just gonna go ahead and layer that pretty much all over where I've put down these mattes, and I'm gonna try not to get too much on here, which is, like I said, kind of the toughest part about these, but I mean, that looks really nice. Okay, I'm not mad at this. I feel like on the lid over top of other shadows, it's looking a lot better than trying to use it sort of on its own, just on the swatch on my hand. I'm just gonna try to cover all of this, I think. And I like the sheerness of it because, like I said, you can see the gradient that I have underneath, and I think that looks nice. It is a little bit hard to pick up like the right amount that you want of this on your brush without getting too much of it. But when you do, if you just kind of take your time, it actually looks really nice. So I think I'm pretty happy with this. I mean, you can't tell me that it doesn't look good. It's definitely not like, it doesn't look perfect, if you know what I mean. Like, it does look like there's a little bit of like flakiness and sheerness to it, but I think that's sort of the whole point. Like, I'm really not mad at this at all. I think it looks quite nice, and I'm very curious to see how this is going to wear the rest of the day, because I am going to wear it all day today. It's pretty early in the morning right now, so I do have hope that this is going to wear well though, because the products that I have, that I've tried in the past from like Bella Beauty Bar and Unearthly has some similar ones. They've always worn quite nicely on me. Once they set down, they really don't budge at all. It's all just about the application process and getting a good application to begin with, and not getting too much or too little on your lid. It's kind of a learning curve, but it is sort of a fun product, I'm not gonna lie, and this is making me want to reach for the other products that I have in my collection that are similar, because it does look really nice. Yeah, I kind of like that. I finished off my look and I really like how it turned out. I think that putting some lashes on and the little rhinestones really like finished it off, and I love this. I think that the pigment on the lid looks so pretty. One thing I will say though is that I can kind of feel it. Like, it's not super lightweight. It doesn't feel uncomfortable by any means, but like I can tell that it's there more so than if I were to just have an eyeshadow on. But it's not something that really bothers me. Like, it's totally fine and I'll get used to it, because usually with these kind of products, it's like you feel it a little bit in the beginning because you're just like not used to wearing it. And then as the day goes on, you just kind of forget that you have it on. So I think it looks beautiful. And like the shift in it, like, do you see how strong that is? That is absolutely stunning. Like, I love how that looks. Does it look a little bit crepey and flaky maybe, and like your eyes are 10 years older than they are? Possibly, but I don't really care. Like, I just think it looks really nice, and I'm super excited that I was sent these, because I would not have picked these up myself, and I probably wouldn't have wanted to go back to the ones that I have in my collection if it wasn't for this. So I'm really happy that I have this, and I think if this is a product that you're interested in, I would say maybe buy one and like see how you get along with the formula and see how you like it, because I feel like this is the kind of product that it's not for everybody, but the people who like it love it. And I think I'm in the group who loves it. I think that there's only a couple of ways I would wear these products, and I would probably do it like more of a graphic look. I feel like trying to blend these is not going to be able to be the best. Like, I feel like I wouldn't be able to get a good blend with them. So if I were to do like a normal eyeshadow look and try to do this as like my lid color like I would a normal shimmer eyeshadow, I don't know if that would really work out, but I could be wrong, and maybe I should try it, because I shouldn't be saying things before I've actually tried it. But I'm really happy with this look. I think it turned out really, really good. So to sum up, let's see, my palette, or the palette I should say, I really like the palette too. I think the palette is really nice quality, and I think for being neon shadows, these perform really well. Just go into it keeping in mind that these are neon shadows, and sometimes neons don't perform as easily as just regular eyeshadows. These are very pigmented. You could see it on my eyes. They're certainly neon eyeshadows. And so I would say don't like over blend and use these like you would a normal palette. Like, don't do a transition shade and a deepening shade and another deepening shade. Like, I think that that's not going to be the best way to use this. I would use this more as a either accent palette to something else, or to do like simpler look or graphic looks and stuff. And for that reason, I think it's really nice, and I'm excited that I have this in my collection. I really like this yellow. I think that is a beautiful color. This is a beautiful color. They're all really, really pretty colors, and I think it's fun that this came out at this time of the year, because like I said in the beginning, it makes me excited for spring and summer, and I'm ready for the weather to change a little bit. I'm ready to just not have to be cold all the time, because I'm someone who's always cold. So for me, it's not that I like the warmth, but I like the warmth more than I like the cold. I don't know, do I? I like fall fashion more than I like summer fashion, but I also just hate being cold all the time. It's like you just can't win. So I think that's going to sum up this video. Oh, also the multichromes. I should talk about the multichromes. These are really nice. The wear time on this yesterday was beautiful. It barely wore off at all, even by the end of the day, and I wore it for 12 hours, I think. So if you're looking for multichromes, if you just want to buy like one or two, these are really, really nice. And I also like that they come in these little compacts, and you can take them out because they are magnetized. So that's awesome. Like, it just comes in a little thing like this, and then you can pop it back in. These are really nice. The palette is really nice. The pigments are really nice. I think this was a pretty successful video, so thank you so much for watching. If you want to see some more Its Bel content, I think I have a playlist with them. I can put that right there, and if you're new, don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.